Nippon Paint Premium Wood Care Solutions.
Well, I think first off I should start by congratulating on completing the first review under the IMF program. The program really starts on a positive note and is off to a good start.
The International Monetary Fund congratulated the country on completing the first review under its program, acknowledging the challenging reforms undertaken by Sri Lanka. During a meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sri Lankan authorities, the IMF senior mission chief for Sri Lanka Peter Brewer noted that encouraging signs were observed regarding the program's impact on stabilizing the economy, particularly in policy-oriented variables and fiscal areas. A recent meeting revealed promising revenue collection, indicating the effectiveness of implemented policies since reaching a staff-level agreement in the second half of 2022. The IMF emphasized the positive improvement in these developments, boosting confidence with the international community, official creditors and private creditors. Directors at the executive board meeting applauded Sri Lanka's courage in publishing the governance diagnostic, a pioneering effort in Asia. With respect to revenue collection, we had a meeting that showed very encouraging numbers that basically highlight that the policies you implemented beginning after we reached the staff-level agreement in the second half of 2022 are working, that they have the intended effect, and that you're collecting the revenue that's needed to address the cause of the crisis. So, that really is very good news, Brewer told President Wickremesinghe.
Well, I think first off I should start by congratulating on completing the first review under the IMF program. The program really starts on a positive note and is off to a good start, which I think is great news. There was, at the executive board meeting, directors really recognized the difficult reforms that you have embarked upon and what they mean with respect to the population domestically. So there was full acknowledgement of that by the international community. For example, they pointed out the governance diagnostic to first of all agree to do it as the first one in Asia and then to publish it was actually quite courageous, and so they congratulated the authorities on that. So there was strong recognition on that, as well as all the other reforms. Congratulations. I think it really shows that you're tackling this extremely severe crisis with all the vigor that is needed in order to have Sri Lanka emerge from the crisis. I think there are very encouraging signs that the program is beginning to work, that the economy is stabilizing. So there's, of course, all the signs with respect to sort of the policy-related variables so in the fiscal area, with respect to revenue collection. In fact, we just had a meeting a few hours ago that showed very encouraging numbers that basically highlight that the policies that you implemented beginning from after we reached staff-level agreement in the second half of 2022, that those policies are working, that they have the intended effect, that you're collecting the revenue that's needed in order to address the cause of the crisis. That really is very good news. And it seems like there's a positive surprise in all of this, which will go a long way to build confidence with the international community, with official creditors, with private creditors. And that is very important. I think that will really sort of highlight the seriousness with which the authorities are approaching the reforms. So I think that really is good news. At the board meeting, directors pointed out other positive news. Inflation has come down so significantly because of the efforts that the authorities have undertaken with respect to monetary policy and with respect to scaling back monetary financing. So that really is another great achievement that was highlighted, amongst many others. The increase in reserves, we are getting positive signs that is working well. The governance reforms have begun, so I think these are all positive signs. And in fact, we are now seeing in the third quarter positive economic growth. Now, it is very tentative. It's not in the areas where we would like to see it in terms of benefiting the people. At the moment, it is sort of capital formation, it's the machinery, and so forth. But you have to start somewhere. Eventually, that growth will move over to other sectors. And so I think that is good news. But for that to happen, of course, perseverance with the reforms is absolutely key. So that is very important, and I'm sure you and your colleagues will continue to take that very seriously. From the Japanese Finance Minister, is this transparency, the open letter that you had written in March last year, committing to the transparency, that's something that was mentioned at the board meeting as well. The international community is holding you to it. They recognize the limitations that you are under, so finding a way forward, I think there will be important, because ultimately also these agreements in principle, of course, need to be converted into actual agreements and memoranda of understanding. So moving that along, I think, is quite important.
Past few months, we can use two words, very satisfactory. But we have far more to go ahead. I think they've all dealt with most of the issues. In regard to laws, we have only one bottleneck. That is, we have very few personnel who are involved in drafting laws, and I think we may be having about 30 or 40, unless we find some ways of getting contracting out to some of the retired people or people abroad. So that's one issue. We have the bottleneck. As far as the Anti-Corruption Commission is concerned, no, they are going ahead. Actually, they had agreed on the principles on selections, but I think they were arguing on many issues around it. So there are about 2 or 3 changes, not on the criteria, but on some of the other matters. But it was not an issue because I think most of them came and agreed on the present chairman, Neil Idavella, who was earlier the additional Secretary General of Parliament and then a judge in the Court of Appeal. So there was a unanimity as far as the chairman and the other 2 members were concerned. I met with them and I said, go through what you have to do. Don't rush into anything just because people say you have to catch the crooks, but go in, look at the training. There's actually a big, one of the issues that you have is certainly that most of them are not trained. You have got untrained. So look at what you have to do to develop your human resources. Again, do that and thereafter go ahead. Do your initial work properly. Don't try to show results by saying, we've caught this one or that one. First get your system ready and then go ahead. He agreed. Basically, he's very level-headed. As far as the speaker is concerned, I think he should be available any of these days for you all to meet up with him. But basically, I would say that it's three good, the choices were good, and I had no problems with them. And we'll most probably meet them again sometime in February as to what is the other assistance that is required. A fair number will have to be sent abroad for training. We were doing that in 2016, then the DG changed and that was dropped. The tourism and Christmas has helped I think, to generate more jobs, and we hope we'll be able to get more tourists in this coming year. Only other thing is elections, and the problem there is that every party says they are going to change all this and they'll negotiate with the IMF.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.